Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Rain here with RTS Mobile Gaming. We are bringing you some fantastic Diablo 4 footage today. This is the advanced version of my Necromancer Corpse Explosion build. This has been absolutely min-maxed to the best of my ability at my current level of 78/79 in this video. Okay, I am fighting in a Nightmare Dungeon level 59. The monsters are level 113. I am basically 30 levels above, fighting 30 levels above my current character level. I feel like the survivability and the damage on this build has more than tripled since the original Corpse Explosion Black River build I published a week and a half ago. I have really got a few great pieces. I have changed some of the skill sets to get a lot better flow, and overall the damage multipliers that I'm using have been significantly more effective. In just a few minutes, we'll hop over and take a look at the build itself, but here we're going to take a look at some great footage as I fight some of these fantastic Crusader Knights, and then we'll go into some of the fantastic Wraiths that I'm killing. We all know how much we love fighting Wraiths. And just look at the damage just stacking up. As soon as this happens, the damage is absolutely out of control. It just keeps going. I don't even know what to do. The crowd control is insane. I have all of these fantastic pulls all over the place. We're dropping Bone Prison, which is locking folks in place and applying vulnerability as well as blight. And then we go in, we get our Shadow Blight bonus proc, and it's just game over for everybody on the screen. You are seeing my health dip in and out here. This is going to be natural for the build because I'm not running Bone Storm, which gave me a barrier for the previous version of this build. Since I'm not using Bone Storm, I don't have a non-stop barrier. I've actually designed this build to have more survivability, and you're really seeing my health rubber band because I am fighting in a level 59 Nightmare Dungeon, and I'm only level 78 in this part of the video. So that's the primary reason. It is hard to not get chunked away when you're fighting enemies who are, whatever, 33, 34 levels above you. It can be a challenge. But look at the damage. Oh my goodness. So I've actually, since I took this footage, made one additional upgrade, which I will cover in the gear part. But I've basically added an aspect to give my Blood Mist a darkness damage trail behind it, which is going to give me even more procs on my shadow damage and some half-decent AoE damage itself, and a lot of procs on my Shadow Blight, 180% bonus damage dealt for 6 seconds. The uptime on that has been even better, so I'll be doing more, probably another video, another 3 or 4 days when I get this build fully perfected. Hopefully I'm up at like level 85 or so, and we can really make this thing sing. Okay. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a real quick look at the actual build for this setup. Okay, so what we've got here is about 3 times as much damage, more than doubled survivability, and overall a ton more effectiveness compared to the early version of the build that I displayed a week and a half ago. Okay, so if you're just watching this video now as your first foot into my Necromancer Corpse Explosion build, I will go through everything, but I'm going to start with what I changed from the previous version. First, I actually dropped Bone Storm. Bone Storm with Barrier was consuming 2 legendary aspect slots. Not only was it consuming 2 legendary aspect slots, it was giving me bonuses that I didn't really need as far as critical strike chance and things like that. So I've actually switched out Bone Storm for Bone Prison. Bone Prison is very interesting because it is going to apply vulnerable to the enemies that are inside the prison. I'm already applying vulnerable, all the time with Corpse Tendrils, okay, but now I have another way to apply vulnerability to the enemies. So this is going to apply vulnerability while they're inside of the Bone Prison, okay, for 6 seconds. That is a big, big deal. In addition to that, I have a ability on my legendary aspect for my ring here that causes Bone Prison to summon Blight. Okay, Blight is going to apply a damage bonus of 15% multiplicative damage bonus when enemies are inside my Blight. So I've now gained a huge amount of multiplicative damage, okay, and I have gained Vulnerable, which is going to apply more multiplicative damage from that combat modifier. And essentially the damage for this build when Bone Prison drops the Blight debuff, the damage is absolutely insane. Okay, so I've also been able to reclaim an aspect off of my chest. I was able to reclaim, instead of running Bone Storm gives you a barrier, I'm able to now run the disobedience aspect, which is going to give me a ton of survivability. So not only have I increased my survivability here, I'm also not relying on an ultimate cooldown for 45 seconds or whatever it is, okay? And I now am going to apply an enormous amount of multiplicative damage bonuses with Bone Prison. Bone Prison is also good crowd control. It will lock enemies in place for a few seconds until they bust through the walls, which is really great. All right, now into the rest of the build, the other things that I have upgraded here, I have changed the aspect on my my Ancestral Legendary Focus here, okay, to make it so that Blood Mist actually leaves a trail of ticking shadow damage and does not slow my movement speed. This is really, really amazing. The flow of PvP and PvE Blood Mist domination is for real, okay? The damage isn't that bad either. It is going to be ticking for anywhere from 1,000 damage to, 80,000 damage, depending on if my bonuses are active or not. But essentially, if my enemies are all cursed with double curse and I have activated my Shadow Blight bonus, I'm going to be dealing almost 250% bonus damage to them. Multiplicative damage. Okay, so that will make even the boots great. These boots are great for clearing trash. They're great for going to Helltide, and they will kill all the monsters for you. It's fantastic. All right, the rest of the build, let's go through it real quick. On the helmet, I have this helmet on because it just gives a crazy amount of stats and crowd control bonus. I like this. It's probably not the best min-maxed helmet you could get, but I don't dislike it. Consuming Corpse gives blood orbs. This is important for survivability, okay? The chest piece, this is a 4 defensive stat chest. I actually love this chest against distant enemies. It ends up being over 40% bonus damage reduction. Okay, against close enemies, it's still up at 20.5. It's really amazing. Get your disobedience aspect on your chest. For the gloves, Howl from Below. This is not mandatory, but it's really, really nice. Having all this lucky hit chance to stun and fear the enemies is great. It'll also, these lucky hits can be triggered by your Bone Prison itself. So when you do activate Bone Prison, you may see a few of the enemies inside of it get stunned and feared, which is going to trigger more multiplicative damage bonuses from your Paragon and other skills. Okay, on the pants, this is pretty basic. I actually have Blood Mist and Corpse Explosion bonuses on this pants. The Blood Mist bonus is going to reduce the cooldown of Blood Mist. So honestly, I'd love to have a 2 defensive stat pants with Corpse Explosion and Blood Mist, but for now, this is the best I found. Okay? And basic, you basically want to have your basic skills reduce your damage taken. For the boots, all right, this can be really a much better rolled pair of boots, but again, you're going for stats. I wish I had movement speed on these boots instead of dexterity. Room for growth, okay? But Blood Mist triggering Corpse Explosion and reducing its cooldown is really key to the build because Blood Mist is really your primary survivability tool. It's going to keep you alive so you can run in and out of packs and absolutely decimate them. All right? Black River is also not 100% mandatory for the build, just like Howl from Below. I've actually run the build with a 2-hander. I did a video about that recently. The damage is certainly less. This does give a nice damage bonus, but you're trading things, right? Now you have these different modifiers on this weapon that don't really affect your damage. Damage to distant is great, but most of the time I'm in close, so they're affected by 2 auras. By 2 curses, sorry. And for the boots, for the damage to healthy, I mean, that only applies for the first 15% of their HP. Since I'm running a dot build, there will be many damage ticks, which are going to be, when they're below HP. I'm not one-shotting mobs with my damage ticks. So, honestly, the additive damage bonuses on this weapon are pretty useless. The really reason why you like it is because it gives 128% multiplicative damage bonus to your Corpse Explosion. But if you happen to find a great 2-hander that gives you, 4 out of 4 great rolled modifiers, you might actually deal more damage with 4 great additive modifiers versus 2 useless ones and a multiplier. Okay? So, into the actual focus itself, I talked about this a minute ago. Essentially, I don't need essence cost reduction on this, but I happen to have it. This is not the best rolled thing I could ever have, but it does have double cooldown reduction on it. It does have willpower and damage when I pick up blood orbs. I'm picking up blood orbs non-stop because of this helmet generating blood orbs. So essentially, it's a really, really powerful ability because it gives me non-stop damage bonus. All right. For the necklace, this thing is absolutely insane. It is the best necklace I've ever seen in my life for this particular build. 3 ranks of gloom is going to be 18% multiplicative damage at the end of the day. It gives shadow damage over time, it gives plus straight damage over time, and it gives cooldown reduction. This is amazing. It also is going to give your blighted bonus, which means when you have shadow damage triggering shadow blight, it is going to give you a crazy damage bonus. Okay, for the rings, this ring could be rolled much better. It is going to be replaced soon, I hope. But basically, you want to have your Aura of the Damned aspect on this, so when you both of your curses are afflicting an enemy, they take bonus damage from you. All right, this other ring is a little bit better. I got this pretty recently. This gives vulnerable bonus, lucky hit bonus, damage close, and damage to crowd control. Okay, this is about as good as it's going to get. I wish the crowd control was a higher roll. We'll work on that later. But this is going to be a bone prison summoning blight type of bonus to give you that multiplicative damage. Book of the Dead, we have sacrificed Reapers, Cold Mages, and Blood Golem. Okay, into the ability tree itself, we'll just blitz right through this. Okay, we've got Reap in here. Okay, I have 1 point in Blight all the way down to Supernatural Blight to give me that damage multiplier when Bone Prison summons Blight. This is really great. Okay, again, 15% multiplicative damage to enemies with Blight. All right? Some points in Hewed Flesh to give you some corpse generation. Corpse Explosion is your main ability here. You want to have this sucker maxed out. Okay, go ahead and get Blighted Corpse Explosion for the Miasma. Blood Mist, if you have more skill points to spare, I think I still have to unlock 3 or 4 of them from the actual campaign progress for the different regions. You should try and max out Blood Mist. The more points in Blood Mist, the lower the cooldown. If you put another 3 points in Blood Mist right now, you could see this dropping down to the 13 and a half, 14 second cooldown range, which would be very, very, very nice. Right now I'm at 15.6, okay? And that's why I like Blood Mist on the legs. Every level of Blood Mist is going to reduce the cooldown by approximately half a second, plus or minus. It's really, really important to have that kind of stuff. Okay. Bone Prison, 1 point in here, all the way down to Ghastly Bone Prison. Okay. We don't need, again, and this is just going to upgrade the life of the Bone Prison and reduce the cooldown. It's not a bad idea to have points in Bone Prison if you have points to spare or a gear with Bone Prison on it. I think Pants can roll Bone Prison, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if we had Bone Prison. Max out Fuel by Death. This is going to be crazy damage when you consume a corpse. Max out Amplify Damage. Make sure you put points in Iron Maiden, Decrepify, Abhorrent, and Abhorrent for both of those. Corpse Tendrils is great. More points in here is going to reduce the cooldown. Again, it's not a huge reduction, but every little bit helps. So feel free to get these on your boots to give you a bonus and reduce your corpse explosion by a few seconds. Okay. Plagued Corpse Tendrils is going to generate vulnerable procs when it activates. We'll put 3 points in Necrotic for Fortify, and then this area really gets a lot of points. Gloom is your main damage modifier. When you damage enemies with darkness, it increases the damage they take. It stacks 3 times. Okay, so that's really important since you're damaging them with dots. It's going to keep adding up. Basically, the goal is between your dot skill, your Reap, and your Blood Mist dot, you should be able to trigger the max rank of Gloom within 1 second, right? You should be able to trigger that pretty much instantly. Because you have 3 abilities on your bar right now that are dealing darkness damage, should be triggering Gloom max rank instantly. In addition, Terror is really great. Darkness skills deal bonus multiplier damage to enemies who are stunned or immobilized or slowed. You are slowing everybody all the time. You are stunning them pretty frequently. So this is a great bonus to have. Okay? 1 point in Crippling Darkness to give yourself a stun proc is great. Down here, we're going to max out Standalone, max out Memento Mori, and then grab Shadow Blight, okay? Into the Paragon itself, I'm just going to go through real quick where I'm at with the glyphs, okay? Damage to crowd-controlled enemies, this is the big deal. This is going to give you a multiplier damage and a additive damage bonus, okay? And when enemies are stunned or frozen, and we are stunning enemies all the time, your multiplier damage goes from 10% to 20%, it's great. All right, from there, we have the Shadow Wither board applied with Wither up in the top left, the glyph in the bottom right. I've got Shadow Damage, the Shadow Damage glyph here that is going to give you straight Shadow Damage, and then when you deal Shadow Damage to an enemy, it reduces the damage they deal. So again, within 1 or 2 seconds, all of the enemies who have taken Shadow Damage from you are now dealing 10% less damage, which is really great. This is a fantastic way to reduce the damage output, okay? And this is a different reduction than reducing your damage taken. This is reducing enemy damage dealt, so it's applied differently in the equation. Really, really powerful. From there, we're going to go ahead and make sure you grab the legendary node here for Wither. This is really great. This is why I'm stacking so much willpower on my different pieces of gear. The more willpower I have, the more I'll activate this bonus, okay? We're going to go ahead and grab the Flesh Eater node next. Go ahead and put the legendary node on the left with the glyph on the right. And this is going to be real quick in and out of this area. Okay. We're just going to snake our way up to the legendary node, Flesh Eater. Then we'll go ahead and grab these rare glyphs here, which are great. I don't have enough points to fully max out that yet. We'll have it soon. Grab the glyph. This, I need to level up a little more. I'm actually going to change this out while I'm talking to you. I'm going to be putting in, I want to be putting in the Fortify glyph. Because I'm fortifying people all day long. So I am going to rework this glyph to have 25 willpower. I'll do that off video. You don't need to watch me do that. But essentially, I'm going to be running this Fortify glyph here, which is really great. It's going to dramatically reduce the damage I take when I have Fortify active, which is all the time. Okay. Next, I have moved into the Blood Begets Blood tree here. Again, since I'm triggering so many blood orbs and I'm absorbing blood orbs non-stop, I really want to make sure that I am able to maximize my damage bonuses. So I'm going to be getting things that give me bonus damage. When I pick up a blood orb, bonus damage while healthy. Okay, a couple good glyphs over here I'm going to be grabbing, right? I've got the legendary node, which is a damage multiplier, and a few other things that give me bonus damage, okay? So I'll be moving my way through here. I'm probably going to grab this, work my way up here, and then go up top for the next board, all right? So that's the video, folks. If you guys enjoyed this video, this is the advanced Corpse Explosion Domination build. Like and sub. Randy out.